Friday, which means it's time to deploy. We've got a lot of things on the docket this week. We've got shipped. We've got blog posts to cover. We've got new videos from Matt. We've got all the events that's going on. But first, how was everyone's week? I had a pretty good one. Matt, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Good to see you, John and Jim. Hopefully you've both had a good week as well. It's always busy, isn't it? So, but this is an exciting week because I'm back on the tools a little bit, actually doing some stuff with some of our microsites that we host that go out to the public. So, looking at using some of our new capabilities within Octopus Deploy, like some of the features in Platform Hub and ephemeral environments. So, yeah, working with a few of the team members and going and exploring all the different ways to host static websites at the moment and trying to figure out what the best one for us is. So, it's nice to be in the weeds again.
Nice. And Jim, speaking of weeds, how are the trenches, Jim?
The trenches are great. We're running more deployments than ever before in all our performance testing. We're starting to muck around now with some like elastic scaling of executions as well. So the more the more deployments you do, the more hardware you get, that sort of stuff. So it's great.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited with all the sort of plumbing, I guess is the best way to describe it, that we're doing at the moment. The thing about plumbing is that when you start pulling, everyone looks under their kitchen sink, they move all the soap and the dishwasher fluid around, and then they look at the piping, and the piping's all rotted out and everything, and they're like, "Ugh, we got to get this fixed." I guess that's kind of to a certain extent what we're doing. Like the piping still works, but we're putting in bigger pipes, putting in more pipes, things like that. Is that analogy apt at all?
That analogy is perfect. The way we like to talk about it is once we're done, if no one notices that we've done anything at all, that's almost the best definition of success. So
Awesome. That's great. That's great. Well, no rest for the wicked, as we like to say, so we might as well just get into it. So this is a blog post entitled Automatic API Key Invalidation, coming in 2026. So this is from Colby. And basically, the way that most folks talk to Octopus is via an API key. Now, you can do this through other means as well. There's server-to-server authentication, which is through OIDC, etc. You can establish these secure links. We have our GitHub app as well, which leverages that as well. But primarily, the most ways that people will communicate to Octopus, if it's not through the CLI or through the UI, it will be through an API call, and you'll use an API key to do just that. Now, for the longest time, when you create an API key, you can put an expiry on them. So you can, when you go about creating them, they can specify the length of time you want that API key to be valid. Most of the time, a lot of people actually mark it as never, which is not the best practice. But this builds upon some of the work that we've been doing. So back in 2022, GitHub a while back opened this up to third parties, which was they wanted to leverage this was really smart to GitHub. What they did was they said, listen, we understand that people are going to sometimes push code to GitHub, and inside that code, there may be some things that may be sensitive, like API keys, for example. And so this builds upon the work that we've done with this, which is when we accidentally leak a API key into a GitHub pull request, it will automatically invalidate that pull request. It's actually it's a well-known sort of signature for those API keys. So we built on that. This is, again, building upon some of those things as well. So going forward, what this means is in 2026 and onwards, if one of your API keys is detected in a public repo, here's what will happen. 1, our secret scanning partner detects the exposed key and notifies us. 2, we automatically invalidate the key to prevent unauthorized use. 3, you receive an email notification explaining what happened and how to create a new key. And then 4, that old key, that invalidated key, will no longer work for API calls or deployments. So it's very similar in the respects of what we did with GitHub, but now we're building this out for doing it in a general sense. Any secret scanning partner that we have with, and so best way to support that, as it marks here, is this wasn't a plant, but this is the other way you can do it, is to use OIDC. This is another way you can do this. So this is an update from Colby and talking about how we're going to be automatically invalidating API keys going forward. So there you go.
Yeah,
it's kind of
awesome.
nice, eh?
Yeah, I love it. I've done this in the past when I was first, learning Git, and you don't worry too much about it, and suddenly you've exposed some secret up there. So I think it's good that we invalidate and then notify, because things are super quick these days. I've seen some posts, and I've had some friends explored this before, where they will like set up specifically like a honeypot to see how long it takes, and they'll go and commit a password or an API key into a public repo that's not got this functionality on, and it's a matter of minutes that an attacker has picked this up and started using it. So
Yep.
I think the notification is great, but I think the next step that we're taking here of invalidating that and saying, look, we took this precautionary measure as something that you needed may have stopped working, but it's probably better than the other option of an attacker having gotten access and doing some nasty stuff with the API key. So yeah.
I have a suspicion I was the first Octonaut in the wild to accidentally leak an API key against my own instance. I was doing some testing. I remember it hit me on a Friday. I wasn't doing a deployment, although if I was using Octopus, that'd be fine. I did a Git push, and immediately I got an email from GitHub saying, "Hey, your pull request has been rejected. It's been deleted. Your branch has been deleted. Yada yada." There was a whole bunch of things that kicked off. I'm like, "What is this?" I looked at the code. I looked at what I had pushed to the local repo. I'm like, "Oh my god, I committed my API key." And then I pinged Jim, who's our security VP at Octopus, and he's like, "Oh no, don't worry about it. It's an automatic security secret scanning. It's totally invalidated. It's cool. That's what it was made to do." And so I was like, "Oh my god, that's awesome." So yeah, I think I was the first one to hit this in the wild, because I did this way back when. I did this back in 2022, and there's a commit that I'd made, and I was like, "Oops." So yeah, it happens.
And unfortunately, it's still really easy to do, because you come across examples of scripts or API calls or
Sure.
examples on the web that just have like a variable for your API key. So you go, "Oh, I'm
Yep.
going to use this." You drop in your API key, you use it locally, and then maybe you just forget, and you go to commit that code, and it's really easy to overlook that you've done that. So the more automation in this place, the better.
Yep. Agreed. Moving right along, we've got a bunch of webinars that we've been running recently. So we had a webinar earlier today, actually. This was with Kit and Trent, and they were talking about how they were talking about introducing Argo CD in Octopus. This was about automating your Argo deployments via Octopus, which is kind of meta, but it is something you can do. You can actually integrate with Argo within Octopus. And this was a webinar that we hosted, which was awesome. You'll find it up on our YouTube channel now, which is great. And, this was at 4:30 in the morning. So there you go. But I was in the background there doing all the production, but it was great to see. We had over 170-ish registrants. We had over 82 attendees live, lots of questions. It was great. We had a good time. And unfortunately, and this was something that happens, when Trent went to go demo, he didn't warm up. He didn't warm up his worker, and so all the containers that he was pulling, all the images that he was pulling down, were like gigs, and it just took way too long to demo. And he didn't pre-cache and all that sort of stuff, which was unfortunate. But there you go, the demo worked. But yeah, just one of those things. Yeah, Trent was apologizing in the video. You'll see it here. But that's the latest webinar that we have. And then later next week, I'll be doing a special edition of the Octopus 101, Deploy If You Dare. I'll be dressing up as Halloween in a Halloween costume. I haven't decided what I'll do. Maybe a pirate. Probably go with some Kraken theme sort of thing. I don't know. And so if you're at all interested in seeing Octopus, you want to see me kick the tires of Octopus, that sort of thing, you want to get your first exposure to Octopus, is a great webinar to do it. We do it every month. Then on November 12th, myself, Bob, and Ships are going to be doing a webinar in conjunction with the platform engineering folks. This is entitled Your Platform's Gatekeeper Problem, Why Shared Responsibility Beats Control. As I said, this is on November 12th. And we'll be having a nice discussion there, which will be great. And then myself and Dan Garfield, who's our VP of open source at Octopus, will be doing a recap of KubeCon North America 2025 recap. This will be on November 18th, so make sure to subscribe to that. It's basically going to be a redux of everything that's been happening around Kubernetes, Argo, and then everything we saw at KubeCon North America in Atlanta, Hotlanta, as they say. And so that'll be great. And we've got a bunch of other webinars planned as well, including a kind of long webinar, Shipped. So we have shipped 25 coming. This is going to be in 46 days. This is where it gets kind of gnarly now because we've got sessions coming in. Registration is now available, so you can register for the event. We'll be sending out links to the live stream, etc. You have to register in order to get a chance to win some prizes we'll be giving out throughout the event itself. It's in your best interest. We'll be providing you updates on schedules and speakers and stuff like that. So feel free to register. And it's a free event. It's a virtual event happening in 46 days, December 9th and 10th. What are you doing December? Come on. You know, it's winter time. You guys are all just hanging out. It's summer down here. But for the rest of you in North America and Europe, it's winter time. You got nothing else. You might as well just attend Shipped, right? I just confirmed today that Paul, our CEO and founder, is going to be doing the keynote address. We've got folks like Colin and all the other PMs who are going to be doing a session as well. We're going to be hosting a live release party for 2025.4. So we're going to talk about the latest features in 2025.4. We've got sessions from partners. We've got sessions from customers. It's going to be great. So sign up today, octopus.com/shipped. And if you're so inclined to speak at Shipped, we are still accepting sessions. This is closing out on October 31st, Halloween, at midnight. So, take that for what it is. Midnight on Halloween, we'll be closing this off, but we've got just shy of 50 sessions submitted so far. Get your sessions in now. If you've done something with Octopus, if you've done anything with any number of the tracks that we've outlined here, CodeFresh, continuous delivery, GitOps, Kubernetes, etc., platform engineering, whatever it is, if you want to do a panel discussion, if you want to do a lightning talk, if you want to do a case study, whatever it may be, send your sessions in now. So you'll find us up on Sessionize. We use Sessionize because it's incredibly easy for us to use, and it's easier for you to use as well to submit your sessions. So submit as many sessions as you wish, and let us know if you're at all interested in speaking at Shipped. We will be closing this off and make immediate decisions in early November. Matt, you've got your sessions in. Jim, I haven't seen a session from you. Do you want to talk about reliable and more scalable deployments?
Yeah, maybe. I'll ask the team what we've got.
Awesome.
Great.
Awesome. I would imagine you could probably leverage some of the videos you've been doing here, Matt, right? So this is your latest video on variables. You could probably repurpose this for Shipped.
I should just put together a bit of a combination of all these videos.
A collage.
And then
That's right.
Collage. That's right. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. Yep. So this one is this week's video of exploring Octopus, where I just try and surface cool capabilities, and variables is actually one of our core capabilities. It's something that you'll come across pretty quickly when you start using Octopus. And the idea, of course, I mean, it's similar to variables in other programming constructs, but the idea is don't hard code anything into any of your application configuration. And in Octopus, we've got variables that you can use. So here I just show a basic introduction to variables. And the cool thing with variables is that you can scope them. So for us, that means a number of different things that we don't need to get into right now, but scoping them to environments is something very common that you'll do. So you might have an environment variable for a configuration in your application, or a URL or an endpoint that you want to hit with your deployment, and that might be different for dev, test, and prod. So you can use scoping here to go and scope that out to different environments. And one of the things that I like about variables is that we can do it on the project level, which is what we're looking at right here. But I also show how we can create variable sets, which is kind of at the next level up in Octopus at the space level. And then you can reuse those across different projects. So if you've got common variables for things like notifications is a good one that you can see here. So if you want to send notifications off to a Slack channel, you can set those here at the space level and then reuse them across the different projects that are in your space without having to define them multiple times. So there's a lot to variables, and there's a lot of different things that you can do in Octopus. So I'm planning on following this up with specific videos on some of the individual capabilities that you can do with variables. But this was like the primer. This is like, hey, what's a variable and how does it work in Octopus? So
I love it. I love the fact that you're doing this for no other reason. Our videos that explained a lot of the basics, the 101s of Octopus, they're so old. They use the old UI. And so by going through, and we can actually at least show the new UI that we have in Octopus, which is great. But yeah, you're right. Variables are a huge aspect of Octopus. Scoping is a really powerful concept because it allows you to preserve the same name, but have it change its value based on the scope that it aligns with. So that's fantastic. Awesome. There's also the projects video that you did recently. This is talking about just what projects are, etc. I think this is a pretty self-explanatory video, but you're basically talking about what they are conceptually. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's one of the first things that you'll run into in Octopus again is creating a project and what is a project. And this was a timely video because I didn't plan this at all. But in our community Slack, which we will look at in a moment for support on Friday, in a
Yes.
different thread, there was someone who was curious about what a project is and what that means for Octopus because
Oh,
they were like, "Is that a Git repository? Is it
yes.
and
Can
just
be.
trying to understand." Yeah, yeah. um, So yeah, this video just explains what a project is and sort of what's contained within a project in Octopus. Because with every DevOps tool, they have different names for different things. Like a project in Azure DevOps is something totally different to what we refer
Yeah.
to a project as. So it's an important thing to understand. But when you do, I think it makes a lot of sense. So
Yeah, it's weird. Like we've all got the same sort of notion, don't we? These apps now that are available, including ourselves, they're either a workspace or a space or a It's basically like an isolation sort of dimension of separating concerns and
mhm.
a collection. That's what they're called in Postman, for example. So you see all these sort of similar names. We've got to unify. We gotta all come together on what we're gonna call these things because they're all the same thing basically. But
We can't do
yeah,
that
you've
in
got to.
IT. We're all individual
No,
and
of course
special.
not.
Yeah.
That's right. Awesome. Yeah. So another video there from Matt, which is great and definitely worth checking out. I did mention the fact that we're at a lot of events as well. So some of the events that you may see us at this week, GitHub Universe will be in San Francisco, talking to the fine folks at GitHub Universe 2025. Looking forward to that. As I did mention, KubeCon in Atlanta, November 10th and 13th, and we'll be doing a webinar following that. And then finally, we'll be back at AWS reInvent. This is an event we haven't been to for a number of years. We used to go all the time. We just stopped going, I think, before right around COVID. We stopped going because everything got canceled. But this will be the first year we'll be back, and we're really looking forward to this one. This is in Las Vegas on December 1st and 5th. What this all means is if you're going to be at one of these events, feel free to stop by the booths. Feel free to say hello. Feel free to tell us if you deploy on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Let us know what you use. If you like Octopus, if you don't like Octopus, just let us know. Say hi. We're always keen to have a chat, and maybe we'll have some swag. I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, so all good things. Great stuff to see. All right, now it's time for Support on Friday. All right, on today's or this week's segment for the Support on Friday, we have the following question from Renato. I'm sorry, I just butchered these names. Hello, hi all. I have a simple question. My team and I love the possibility to see the changes that went live when a given release is deployed on a given environment. Is there a way to obtain the same list before, not after, before the release is deployed to an environment programmatically via CLI or API? I see the UI offers such a preview. Ideally, we would like to automate the process to reduce the time spent on boring emails. We're seeing a lot of really clever ways of describing adjectives. I think last week was painfully, what was it again? Painfully, oh, I can't remember the name. I'll look it up. I can see that there's a CLI command called Octopus Release Deploy, but I don't see a dry run option. This is something we did spec out, by the way. So I was part of the team that was building out the CLI. I spec'd this out. I was a PM for the team, basically. We did spec out a dry run option. We did have the API at the time. It does exist now. Our use case is that we need to prepare a patch note email to send to the organization before the release is deployed. And so Mark, as always, part of our support team, awesome, comes in, jumps in, basically going back and forth with Renato about this. And Renato was just talking about how, in the UI, you see this descriptor of what changes are coming. So Mark does describe the fact that there is an API, but it's just used by our UI and it's not used anywhere else. And it's your mileage may vary basically, but there is a API endpoint called previews. So if you go to yourinstance.octopus.app, if you're on cloud or whatever your instance name is, if you're on server /API/previews, there you can call the APIs. I don't believe these are documented, but this is an endpoint you can actually look up if you're so inclined. And Mark does obviously point people to the fact that with anything, you can go to our roadmap. I do like the idea here, which is to provide a dash preview or dry run option. Dry run is typically run this command as usual, but don't commit any changes and just see the impact of it. Dry run is definitely something we did spec out when we were looking at that option. We were looking at how can I execute commands and not have them execute, but see the results of what they could do. Mark then goes on to show if you have an API key, how to call this in PowerShell. So you set up the usual parameters, and then you call against the spaces, and then you do a check against this. This is basically where you're doing auth. They go back and forth, talking about other things, talking about variables. Incidentally, we were talking about earlier variables. Maybe they could reference your video. Who knows? There's ways to look at this, and then you can take a look at the changes list that comes down as part of this. So there's a bit of data, bit of requests, bit of API endpoints you can take a look at. Lots of ways to do this. But there is, unfortunately, no dry run option in CLI, but this is something we did think about. I think it was just a little bit hard for us to do because there wasn't an API endpoint for us to call at the time, but there is now. So maybe it's something we could do. Awesome. Well, there you go. That was the painfully obvious, I think was the term used last week. And now
I went and looked it up, and Thomas's security guy was painfully adamant that the...
Oh, sorry. Painfully adamant. Thank you. Painfully adamant. This week it's not that. It's what is the term here they use? Is boring time spent on emails for boring emails, but painfully adamant is I think the term du jour now for us. So which is great. Awesome. Well, there you go. That's another week that was here at Octopus. Don't forget, we've got Shipped coming up December. Mark it down your calendars. Please register. Send us your sessions if you're so inclined. Go watch Matt's videos. Encourage Jim to ship something around reliable deployments. I don't know. Sorry, I'm reaching here. Just send Jim a note saying, hey, keep going, that sort of thing. So, yeah. So from all of us here to all of you, we'll see you on the next one. Happy deployments, everyone. Take care.